Hey there. So this is a bumper edition of Wednesday's forecast for the 29th of July, 2026. Now, the reason it's a bumper is because it's the day of the full moon. And with my new moons and full moons, I always do quite a big forecast where I incorporate the asteroids that are really relevant to the sun and the moon at the time. I also look at Sabian symbols for the position of the sun and the moon. Why do I do that? I would say it's because the degree that the full moon occurs on or at is a really important degree for the next 2 weeks. The new moons and full moons are really setting the tone for the next couple of weeks, and it's really telling us whether we're in a growth period or a retraction period, like a moment where we're pulling things back into place. And so actually we're starting this forecast, and as we're starting this day on Wednesday, we're going into this new kind of retraction, this waning moon phase that's going to bring us to the point of the next eclipse, which will be a solar eclipse, a new moon eclipse on the 12th of August. So this is a really exciting 2-week period starting tomorrow, Wednesday, 29th of July. So I don't know where to start because there's so much. So there's a lot coming up. The Sabian symbols, the asteroids, the full moon itself, and what it's doing. Before I go anywhere near the full moon, I just want to talk about some of the other aspects, like I do with the daily forecasts, because we've also, these also tell a story and they could easily get overlooked. So as we're starting Wednesday, the thing that's really coming in is the moon moving from Capricorn and into Aquarius. To me, this is saying at the time of the full moon, we're coming out of this space of business and big power, which Capricorn absolutely represents, and stoicism and being practical and maybe being cool in our logic, and coming into a moment where the wild, the weird, the idealistic, the communal call of humanity is waking up. So I really see that we're sort of like handing over the moon. I know the moon changes signs every couple of days, but to me it's significant because this particular full moon in Aquarius really has some really strong meanings, which actually refer to the big and the bad and maybe the ugly too, like what is happening to power. And so it's going into Aquarius, and that's already opening us up for something a lot more communal, and maybe something that might spread in terms of news or something like something incredible or something strange that everybody hears about. Aquarius, it's known for being different, to going to the beat of its own drum. It's known for rebellion as well. As the moon changes signs, it goes into a square with Chiron. So that's interesting. We know then that this full moon is also in a square to Chiron. The moon in a square to Chiron is showing us that we might have something to deal with today, and that's not just us, like you and me, that's all of us, that humanity might have something to look at. And again, I'm raising it to a humanity level because it's a full moon. It's a moon just before the next eclipse season starts. And of course, it's got this incredible programming. Oh, and let's not forget that the North Node has just changed signs just a day before. Or 2 days before. On this day as well, we've got Venus in a square to Mars. Exactly. Showing that there is a need to get in balance between what we're happy to receive and also what we're happy to defend. It has to be a balance. It's interesting because Venus in Virgo, I think, is looking for something natural and a natural solution where we tune into what we need and then we absolutely know it and where we can be of service. Whereas Mars is really wanting to push information, push sharing. To me, it feels like there's some big reveal, or because like Mars is really pushing information into, funnily enough, the community as well. Gemini is very much about the community, the people we know. And it's in a square to Venus in Virgo, which is very much about health and natural health and healing. So that feels like a strong theme, especially seeing as the moon and Chiron in a square is implying that there is something that we're maybe needing to come to terms with or needing to pay attention to. Then the intensity really starts to ramp up. So we've got the moon going into a conjunction with Pluto, the moon then going into a sextile with Neptune, then going into a trine with Uranus. And, as that is happening, the moon is absolutely pulling on the 4 characters of the Barbel's basket, which I've called a boat, because for me, it makes more sense as a boat. I know some people have described it as an arc, and I really think with all of these planetary alignments, you call it what makes sense to you. This, I'm reading this for you, but it's important you make your own interpretations. I think that's really important. So yeah, there's a sense of, working towards union and unity, and a sense of connection with people. There's also a sense of almost something being channeled, like this really strong awakening energy. It's rousing, it's kind of waking us up from our slumber. And of course, the conjunction to Pluto is bringing us into a confrontation with everything that is powerful in our life, whether that's us as a power source. Do we feel like someone's pushing against us? Do we feel like we have to push back? Who knows? This can make us very, very rebellious against any kind of action. And then Jupiter Cazimi comes in loud and clear. Now, I say that's coming in loud and clear. Yesterday, in Tuesday's forecast, I shared the start times, the exact times, and the ending times for the Jupiter Cazimi across 7 different locations around the world. It's 18 hours. For like Europe, the whole of the Jupiter Cazimi is happening on the 29th. It's slightly different if you're as far over as Australia, and to a lesser degree, Dubai, that goes into the 30th. And if you're in America, it starts on the 28th. That's why I shared it yesterday. And it ends later on in the day on the 29th. So the Jupiter Cazimi has already been taking place, but we have the exact moment of the Cazimi, followed by the moon going into an exact opposition to the Jupiter Cazimi, and then the exact moment of the full moon. So there is a huge build up to this full moon. And that's why I think this one, packs some punch, and it's worthy of understanding at a deep level, because, it doesn't always pack a punch quite like this one does, but it really does. So if we think of the Jupiter Cazimi, this is an energy of focusing on things that can spread, that can grow, that can expand, getting to the truth of things. Jupiter does like the truth. He is a truth seeker at heart. He's very philosophical, and he's very much about feeling good. And he's very much about well-being. So anything that you need to know about your well-being, it's a great day to tune into it. Funnily enough, I've already felt the call to do this. Last night, I couldn't really sleep, and I was asking myself all sorts of questions like I do. I don't want to make a noise. I don't want to wake up the family. I found myself writing questions and using a pendulum. If you think that's weird or evil, I apologize. I'm not doing it to create any evil, but I know some people have thoughts about, pendulums and things. But use whatever technique feels important to you or feels like it works for you. This is a time when I think answers are coming forwards. Now, is that something magical? I don't know. I think we're creating our own inner magic. I think when we use powerful questions at powerful times, I think the power of our unconscious mind reveals exactly what we need to know. So this is a time when we're unlocking. Jupiter is open and expanded and is really standing there for our well-being and our success and our growth, our personal growth, our growth that's going to help us become wise, fingers crossed. So yeah, it's strong. And that's happening. The moon is adding in her magic. Now, the moon in an opposition, I always think the moon in an opposition to Jupiter is too much of a good thing. So if you can imagine, Jupiter's wide open, is there to help you understand things. He's also really strong with the Neptune energy. So the imagination is super strong and the intuition is spot on. And then he's also in a sextile with Uranus, which is giving us that ability to have these flashes of insight, which is amazing. And then the moon is giving us too much of a good thing. So this could be a time when we absolutely understand what we need and we see it really clearly. And then the exact moment of the full moon. So it's big. Now, mythologically, it's interesting because Uranus is granddad. Saturn is one of his sons that castrates him. And then Saturn has some children. He has 6 children, and Jupiter and Pluto are 2 of his children. So all of these, 3 of them, sorry. You've got Neptune here as well. So you've got Neptune, Pluto, and Jupiter, the 3 boys of Saturn, and also Uranus, and Chiron's also here. So to me, this feels a bit like a family affair. This is a huge like family constellation dynamic with the male energy. And then the moon heading in there. So yeah, huge day, Wednesday. Now let's look at it from the perspective of the Sabian symbols. I've just laid it out here so you can see it even more clearly. So there's Jupiter and the sun, there's Pluto and the moon, there's Neptune, there's Uranus. I could also put in that like these 2 squares here, but I haven't. And we've also got the North Node that's just changed signs. So this is such a strong pattern, and it is bringing back that boat and basket once again for us to really think about it. To me, what this means is from the 19th to the 23rd, when the basket was coming in, it was giving us a taster of how we can get clearer and clearer and clearer and make some changes. Funnily enough, I was thinking, I must make some big changes around this time. And as this time came in, like I hadn't committed to anything. And then literally all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to do my forecast on a daily basis, and something else came in, and then something else came in. And it was like, I didn't even have to plan for these things to start moving. They just started moving of their own accord. And so that's what I really think is happening, because there's no resistance in these patterns with these trines and these sextiles. There's no resistance at all, just a bit between Jupiter and Pluto. So yeah, this full moon is big. Now, the Sabian symbol for the full moon in Aquarius is interesting. A child born out of an eggshell. This symbol shows us seeing the individuality, the beauty, potential, or genius in people, particularly children. Today's indigo and star children fit this description. No doubt, if you're watching this channel, you're like an indigo, crystal, star child. I'm sure you've heard those terms before. They seem to come from nowhere and surprise us with their amazing ability to just know things. This child could be quite dependent, may need a lot of care, nurturing, and education, or they could be very independent. Is this you? Most likely, or someone around you. Finding new ways of doing things ensures you have the needed materials and resources to nourish this new beginning. So is this the inner indigo child, or the inner star child, the inner crystal child coming out, or rainbow child? I mean, there's quite a few different descriptions, but is this your inner purpose, your inner reason for being here coming out more and more? Your desire to find your own unique way will give you the ability to find new paths and a new emergence. Transmutation, birth of a new creative original impulse, expressions of self in a whole new light, incubated ideas coming to fruition, private schools, indigo, or IVF children. So and these are Linda Hill's really good descriptions. So these are her Sabian symbols, and you can always go to her website or buy her book, which I recommend. It's www.sabiansymbols.com. Now, where the sun is, and this is also the degree or the Sabian symbol for Jupiter Cazimi, which I think is absolutely worth paying attention to because it's such an important degree on that day. The wonder of the constellations of stars in the night sky. Couldn't have said it better myself, because that's how I'm feeling about this whole day. This symbol brings up issues to do with the bigger questions of life. Even the simple issues should be seen against the backdrop of something far greater, more meaningful than they may at first appear. We on planet Earth can feel like a tiny speck when we consider how huge our solar system or the universe is. However, we each are an important part. We are all stars in our own right. Keeping this in mind helps us to keep our lives in perspective. Questions such as what is life really about, and what does it all mean are likely to come up. The patterns, the integration, enormity of nature, the big picture, observing signatures, astronomy and astrology, science or the esoteric, signs from the heavens, stars. Did you just see my eye roll there? Oh my God, I rolled like a teenager. Like my eye roll there was because I'm like, yeah, of course, duh. Because, the child born out of an eggshell, this is about the indigo and star children. How weird how on the one hand, we've got our inner star energy. And then on the other hand, where the Jupiter Cazimi and the sun are, this is making us feel about the universe and to feel about our purpose and to feel what our place is. That to me is like amazing and beautiful and really rich. It's really describing, I think, a change that is coming over us. And it might not be something that just goes like that on the day. I don't think it is. But to me, it feels like there's this new impulse and understanding about why we're here and what we're doing. Now, if we also have a look at the asteroids, now there are thousands of asteroids, and I always go to serenu.com. That's SERENNU.com. I recommend it. And I put in the date of the full moon, the exact full moon, and I set it to London because that's where I'm based in that time zone. And then I was deliberately looking out for asteroids or points that are around the moon specifically. There were lots around Capricorn and Pisces, but they just give us a semi-sextile. I was looking for conjunctions or squares or oppositions. And so these are the main ones. I mean, there were quite a few. I went with the ones that had more mythology written about them. And so these are my selection. There's just 4 of them. And I think it's kind of, wow, it's fascinating. So the first one is Amicus, who is a centaur. He's the son of Poseidon, which is one of our key components of this full moon. Neptune is in a sextile to the moon, is in a trine to Jupiter, and in a trine to the sun. So he's pretty important. So his son, Neptune and Poseidon, they're the same thing, according to whether you're Greek or Roman. They are essentially the same god. So this is Poseidon's son or Neptune's son. It's Amicus. He is really up for a scrap. He's very smart and he's super strong, and he likes a raw challenge. He is challenging people. He's determined. He's got all of the energies to want to get up to no good. He's also got the instinctive awareness to be able to get out of trouble or sense trouble as it comes in. Tests of strength are things that come up with Amicus. So it's interesting. This full moon is potentially taking us into a new raw challenge where we face ourselves, where we realize maybe we're capable of more than we've ever done. Maybe we reclaim our strength. Maybe we reclaim something raw about ourselves. Maybe we're tuning into a new determined part of ourselves, and also into an instinctive awareness that we'd maybe forgotten about. We've also got Atropos. Now, Atropos, whenever I see Atropos' name, I'm always a bit worried about her because she's one of the fates, the Greek fates or Morai. There are 3 of them. There's Clotho. She's the first, and she's like weaving the thread, selecting the thread. It's for every person that's here on the planet. Clotho like chooses the thread, or weaves the thread, and that describes the life of the person. Then Lachesis, which interestingly, she shares her name with the Bushmaster snake. So Lachesis, she is I can't remember what they call her. She's the one that's choosing how long that thread is going to be. So she's like choosing how long your life is going to be. She's looking at the thread that she gets from Clotho, and she's making a decision. But then they pass all of the threads and the lengths to Atropos, and she's the one that makes the final cut. A bit if you're like, if you're doing some sewing, and like I've done in the past, and my husband was telling me off for it recently because I made a pig's ear out of hemming my curtains. I'm not a seamstress, FYI. And my mother-in-law was coming, and yeah, in my rush to make it look nice, I really fucked it up. And so we've got curtains that are a little bit like wonky on one side. So Atropos would be horrified. She is cutting the material. Once you cut it, you can't just add it back in, as I found out with my curtains. But Atropos, anyway, she is the one that cuts the end of the thread, and she does it, and then it's done, and it's the end. You're dead. So there is something about this full moon that is suggesting that something is coming to its end. Like we've reached a final decision about something. We've made a decision that we're like leaving something behind. We're turning our back on something. We're moving in a new direction. So that's a very, very big energy to have on such a big moon. Just saying, that's how it looks to me. And then we've got two that are in a square that caught my eye. And Apollon, it's not actually an asteroid. It's potentially a trans-Neptunian object that hasn't been discovered. It's also known as a Uranian point. Now, there are lots of Uranian points, and you can see them on astro.com if you look in the section where you can add in your asteroids. The Uranian points don't exist, but they're thought to exist. They're sensitive points. And Apollon reminds me a little bit of Apollo, or the sun card in tarot. The idea of Apollo being about success and creativity, and kind of putting yourself forwards. So Apollon, the Uranian, is known for massive magnification, and it's likened a little bit like to the energy of the sun, and get this, Jupiter. So what are the chances that Apollon is exactly in a square to Jupiter and the sun, which it kind of represents exactly at 6 degrees, and then is exactly in a square to the full moon as well. So there's a T-square with Apollon. So whatever energies are being are coming in for the full moon, Apollon is going to be stressing them, and massive magnification. It's going to be expanding. If there's something that goes down tomorrow anywhere in the world, it's going to be heard about. It's going through the crowds. It's got amazing global reach. It's a really sensitive midpoint. It's worth checking out where it is in your birth chart too, to see if it lands on one of your midpoints. So this is big. Whatever is happening for us, it can get magnified, and it can spread, and and it can go far and wide. Now, there are some energies linking it to commerce, and Jupiter's very, very commercial as well, and Pluto is very power hungry. So I'm wondering if something might be coming up about the powers that be, or the powers that shouldn't be even. Or maybe something going on with our institutions that help us to buy and sell. To me, this is quite a big amplifier of the energies tomorrow. And then we've also got Rhadamanthus, which I also thought, oh, that's interesting, because Rhadamanthus is a trans-Neptunian object known as being the son of Zeus and Europa. Okay, that's caught my eye because Zeus is Jupiter, and Europa. Right now, there's massive fires going on in Europe. And like, you know, in the continent of Europe, not like the EU, like it's also in Wales and Scotland and England, as well as, you know, fires in France, fires in Portugal, fires in Spain. I haven't looked anywhere beyond that. But there's a lot of fires right now. There's a lot of energy. And it seems to be there's a lot of stuff going on around Spain. It caught my eye, you know, that Spain won the World Cup, and in the World Cup final, you know, sorry to like see things and link things together, but I'm always very interested in the coding that comes out in the videos at the halfway, you know, when everyone's performing, like what's going on the performances. I wonder if things get communicated. Well, there's a lot of messages there about things being lit, things being on fire, things being hot, like really hot now. So it was interesting that as Spain won the World Cup and everything was hot, hot, hot in the mid, you know, right the way in the middle, that, you know, Spain was actually burning in many places. So to me, there's something big going on in Europe right now, and Spain seems to be in the middle of it. That's how it feels to me. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but just like linking those together when I saw like Zeus, because that's Jupiter. So Rhadamanthus is also linking into Jupiter. You know, another sun. So we've got a sun of Neptune, and we've got the sun of Jupiter in these as well. But anyway, Rhadamanthus is interesting because he's the judge of the underworld, and he's got very, very good like perfect honesty and wisdom. He decides who goes to Elysium or paradise or heaven, and who goes to hell or Tartarus. So there's some elements there of judgment. So if we all put this together, first of all, like with the Sabian symbols, to me, it feels like there's this star-born energy within all of us that is awakening or seeing things from a new perspective. And one which is, you know, like a moment where we're starting to wonder, why am I here? What's my purpose? I'm sure we've already thought about that for sure. But it's coming up as a really big theme. And then there is the energy that it is done. There's no turning back. That's a tropos. Like it's absolutely done. There's a raw challenge ahead of us, and we're going to realize our true strength. That there is this huge expansion or rush or reach, this moment that seems to go on forever, that people are noticing, and then also this feeling of judgment. So yeah, I think this day is huge. Now, you know, I always try to look at these moments and think, what is it representing to each one of us as a human being, like on a person-to-person basis? And on a person-to-person basis, it might not seem quite so huge as I've just described, because, you know, in our like lives, there are probably maybe, I don't know, 30 events that might happen in our lives that seem quite huge. And eventually, like 6 months later or something, or a year later, some of those won't even seem so huge. And so, you know, like when we review our life, we probably go back and see maybe 3 things and go, bloody hell, that was massive. You know, there's only so much like one human individual can experience, I would say, you know. So I don't want to sort of stress you out or anything, or make you think, oh my God, everything's going to change for me, because it might not. But what I'm seeing is this is a huge message for what's going on the planet. And it feels like something is shifting in a big way, especially seeing as, if we go to this chart, you can see it, especially seeing as the true North Node has just changed signs and gone into Aquarius. You know, the moon is in a conjunction with Pluto that is really stressing anyone that's controlling. It's getting very stressful for them. They're getting emotional, hence the full moon. But for people who are working from a place of sovereignty, an open heart, and are feeling good and strong in themselves, this is a huge magnifier. So I'm going to leave that there. I hope that was helpful for you. Sending you lots of love. I'd love to hear what you think of of this forecast and what you might use it for. So lots and lots of love, and I'll catch you on the other side with another forecast tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye for now.